Joe, take it away.
Thanks, Alexandra. Good afternoon, everyone. Now, I know I stand between you and a coffee break, but I promise these next few sessions will totally be worth it. And if you don't feel like that's a valid statement, come find me at the demo booth. I'll show you some demos of what's been done today, and we can talk that out. But I hope you're all as excited as I am to be here and see these sessions. I'm thrilled to take you through these as they are a favorite portion of the Innovate conference for myself. And the work that I do at Symphony is to work with clients like yourselves to better understand, determine, and implement workflows that will improve your business. So this part of the day is right in my wheelhouse. Over the next 45 minutes, you'll see 3 unique use cases from across the Symphony community. But before we get started, I'd like to clarify that these sessions feature workflows that Symphony does not control or determine. Our partners and customers build these solutions you are about to see to streamline their workflows on the Symphony platform. These sessions are a way of sharing some of the interesting things the community is doing. And with that, let's get started. First up, I'd like to introduce our next guests who are here to demonstrate Symphony's embedded collaboration platform integrated into one of our key partners platforms. Joining us on stage is Olga Chin, CEO of InterPrice Technologies, Keith Gaub, Assistant Treasurer at Bristol Myer Squibb, and James Gutow, the Debt Capital Markets Managing Director at Barclays. Thanks, everyone. Take it away.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today at Innovate to announce our partnership with Symphony in changing the ways that corporations are able to communicate seamlessly on debt issuances with their debt capital markets partners. However, before we dive into a demo, let's just quickly find out how the primary markets work. So Keith, can you tell us a little bit more about your role and responsibilities in BMS?
Sure, thank you. So one of my responsibilities as the Assistant Treasurer at BMS is to ensure our company is appropriately funded, which includes accessing the capital markets for liquidity. So through cash flow forecasting and capital allocation planning, we'll determine the debt levels appropriate to sufficiently fund our business. Once we align internally, we'll begin assessing the indicative pricing levels provided by the banks. Using those pricing levels, along with a series of other factors, we'll begin to firm up our funding plan. And once we get to that stage, we'll begin to communicate our intentions with the capital markets group at our banks.
Perfect. Now on the other side, James, how about on the debt capital markets side?
Sure, thanks. On the DCM side, our focus is keeping clients updated on financing market conditions and the cost of raising debt funding. We update our clients typically via email with updated pricing across a range of currencies, maturities, and instrument types. And as market conditions evolve, we continue to update them. Once the company is ready to go to market, we work with our syndicate, our credit sales force, and we engage with investors to circle interest for a bond transaction.
So how do you two communicate with each other throughout the process?
Yeah, the banks typically send weekly run emails. Those emails have pricing indications, macro factors, market conditions. That's our primary form of communications. We will, from time to time, pick up the phone to communicate if we have a specific question, but predominantly through email.
Yeah, I agree, Keith. We typically communicate via email and by phone.
Thank you so much, James. So now let's see how InterPrice and Symphony are going to revolutionize this. Dylan, ready for the demo? All right, great. Let's pull up the screen. So here's the InterPrice platform. We're a corporate treasury management solution. We aggregate all of the information that corporate banking partners provide to treasury teams. And we're very fortunate that we work with multiple Fortune 500 corporations in the US and globally. The process starts when Keith is planning the BMS funding needs. You can see that he has a message from James on Symphony to discuss plans for his upcoming issuance. So Keith now can go into the platform and scan the level sent over by the banks. Keith, what do you think? What should we issue?
Yeah, so I'd like to take a closer look at that 5-year issuance in USD, but I do have a question about the assumed size. So I'll go ahead and ping James and ask him what the price differential may be should we choose to issue $1 billion.
So now that Keith has decided what instrument he wants to issue, he's going to open up the chat with James and type in the question. James, when you receive this message, what do you think about the next steps? What's your answer?
So I would say, great, that's a good question, Keith. My thought is that if BMS were to issue $1 billion of bonds instead of $500 million of bonds, the additional cost would be about 5 basis points.
Perfect. So as you can see, we've gone from having to look at multiple emails and written down notes from phone calls to immediate connectivity with the banking partners. And that's really what InterPrice and our partnership with Symphony is about, removing this context switching and having the corporate debt issuance workflow all in one place. InterPrice aggregates and organizes the information, and Symphony acts as the collaboration layer. And we want this type of instantaneous communication for all of our clients and their relationship banks. What's more surprising is that my team over here began to work on this integration just a little over a month ago, and within a few days we had ECP seamlessly embedded into the platform. So now, Keith, James, what are your thoughts in terms of how this might potentially change the way you do business?
I would say anything that can streamline different technologies is incredibly helpful. We use Symphony frequently internally, and it's a very efficient way to communicate with people across Barclays Bank, and I can see the same application working very well externally.
Yeah, and to echo a little bit what James said, corporate treasury departments are extremely busy between meetings and just getting through the day. We're not excessively staffed, so anything we can do to increase efficiency with an ease of execution is always going to be valuable for our day-to-day.
Perfect. All right, well, to close, with this development, we're excited that we're going to roll this out across all of our clients in Q1 of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Olga, we have a few minutes left, so what's next for this development?
So from our side, digging deeper and doubling down on this. So first of all, we would love to roll out ECP, not just between the banking partners and clients, but also just between the corporate treasury clients. So imagine if somebody like Keith had a question that he wanted to pose to a different treasury team, then he can very quickly and seamlessly do that. That's the first one. And also doubling down on what they can actually do in terms of the messaging with their banking partners. So you saw on screen that there were simple messages and the communication was instantaneous, but what if we can actually embed more information, embed more questions, ask specific questions as to what's on the platform. So that's coming next.
Wow, that sounds great. I'm sure people are looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up, I'd like to introduce Jonathan Slavin, Head of Execution Hub Americas, UBS's outsourced multi-asset trading platform. John, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you have been in the financial industry for over 20 years, working at companies like Morgan Stanley and PIMCO, and over the past year at UBS. So can you tell us a little bit about the unique work that you and your team are doing right now?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for joining. We have established over the past year and a half an outsourced multi-asset global trading platform. The platform really helps the buy side, who either one doesn't have a trader of their own, may need a supplement to their trading for a specific region. We handle all of the trades and execution on a global basis for our buy-side clients. For us, we try to deal with some of the other pain points. The way that the process works is the client faces UBS Execution Hub, which is an independent entity within UBS, and we face the street. So we take the pain away from dealing with middle office, back office, and operational issues, in addition to managing the trade execution for clients.
Great. Okay, so now, given the broad network of people that you engage with, I know you kind of just hit on it, but are there any extreme challenges that you've been facing lately?
Well, there's always challenges, right? We're a new startup business. We launched about a year and a half ago. We went live with equity execution in January. We went live with fixed income this past September. So for us, there's always speed bumps. We have limited resources, and so our traders on our trading desks, and we have traders located in New York, Singapore, London, and Frankfurt, are not only dealing with trade execution, but because we deal with the sell side and we face the sell side for our clients, we deal with middle office, back office, and operational breaks, and really try to help the limited resources that the firm has to manage that.
Great, thank you. So now, given that, can you tell us different ways that you've been using Symphony to kind of address these issues?
Sure. So look, first and foremost, what we try to do is alleviate some of our operational people with the task of fixing breaks. On a daily basis, there's breaks. The breaks from the client to UBS are pretty much non-existent. They send an order over a fixed line, we get the order, we know what they want to do, and we trade it. The breaks occur when we face the various brokers. And so what we can do is we can spend the time dealing with our operations people internally. They're pretty busy, they're doing their job, but for us to be efficient, what we've implemented basically is utilizing Symphony so that we can have a direct contact from our front office, right? We use various products in the front office basis. Historically, we may be using Bloomberg for market data, et cetera. But when you think about the other hat that our traders wear, they're dealing with middle office, back office, operational people who don't have that, right? And so the easiest way for us to be in contact with them, rather than going through email, rather than going through our operations people internally, is to have direct contact. And so when you think about that, for us, the most efficient way is to utilize Symphony. So we can have direct contact with each group within our sell-side counterparties. When we have a problem, we can get it fixed easily and efficiently. We get an answer back right away rather than either waiting for an email, tracking people down through a phone call, or going through our own operations people.
Yeah, that's great. That's what we like to hear, using Symphony. So what has the feedback been so far?
Feedback is good. I think in reality, we're really trying to push the sell side to go ahead and implement it themselves, right? It comes from us. We're the client. We have had examples where some managers have reached out to me directly and said, why are you setting this up? And we've explained that to them. There was one particular counterparty in particular, a senior manager, sort of scratched his head and was like, wow, that's a great idea. We should be doing that with other clients. So I think for us, as an innovative way to create an efficiency where we're trying to be multitasking from a trading desk, right? We're a front office function, which normally in the past, for the people that work on our front office, they've always pushed that off to operations, middle office, and back office people. So now that we're wearing multiple hats, it creates an efficiency for us to communicate.
Sure. And so where do you think this is going to take your business next?
I mean, look, we basically help startup hedge funds establish asset managers. So when you think about some of our clients, we may have clients that are starting off a hedge fund with $25, $50 million in AUM. From a cost perspective, we have some clients that don't use Bloomberg, don't use market data in a way that you would normally think an established asset manager does. So for us, when we receive orders, we get an order over our fixed line, but we need to verify that those orders are correct. We can go over email, that's not very efficient. So for us, what we've done is we've gone out to some of our newer clients who are starting up, they have to worry about costs, they want to make sure that communication is effective. So for us, it's a very easy way to establish that communication line and offer them the opportunity to sign on to Symphony, speak to us directly. Everything is within the realm of an approved communication function within a large investment bank. So it actually makes it pretty easy.
Great. Now, before we end this, is there anything else that you want to add?
I just think, to think about, ways for us to be innovative and create efficiencies in our business. We're new. Even though we're a large bank and a large organization, we always have limited resources, right? And so for us, to think about how we can communicate effectively within the realms of what is allowed from a large bank, I think Symphony's done a great job with going out to the investment banking community, the brokerage community, and working with their compliance to be able to establish those recorded lines, whatever is needed from the investment banks. So it gives us an alternative, which is, I think, more cost effective, but like I said, it's extremely inefficient for those that either one, don't want to spend an expensive market data that gives them a communication facility. This is less expensive, it's easy to sign on, and it fits compliance as well.
Great. Well, thank you for that. I think you've given everybody a lot to think about. With that, that ends our session, and I'd like to thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Now on to our last, but certainly not least, presentation. I'd like to ask Wendy Askew, Channel Development Manager at ETD at Money Euro Institutional Investor, to join us on stage to present their TaDa! Bet you that woke me up. But Wendy won't be presenting alone on stage today, as we have Matthew Cheung, ipushpull CEO, joining us as well on stage as the TaDa! Bot is powered by ipushpull. Last time I'll do it. Welcome, Wendy. Welcome, Matthew. I'm really excited to show everyone what you did today.
Thank you for having us, Joe.
Matthew and I are really excited to be here today, and what a great city New York is. It's wonderful to be here. ETD, previously known as Euromoney Trade Data, is a leading provider of futures and options reference data. We are part of Euromoney Institutional Investor Group, a global B2B information services company which focuses on data, analysis, and market intelligence with customers in over 160 countries. The audience might not know, but many of the institutions here today are already consuming our data, with 9 out of the top 10 Tier 1 banks globally using our reference data, especially our symbology, the most comprehensive in the market. We have unrivaled coverage of the exchange-traded universe, with over 110 global exchanges covered. And my role is to work with partners like Symphony and ipushpull to innovate how reference data is used to help improve the efficiency of organizations. In a recent survey at a large custodial bank, ops teams spent 40 to 45% of their day getting data out of systems for clients and customers. And that time was broken down as 30% taking customer queries or client queries, 30% of time finding that data, 30% of time normalizing that data, and the remaining 10% managing that process, which is crazy, right? It's using humans as APIs. And this shows the majority of time, communication is still very manual, using email and spreadsheets, which means it's slow, inefficient, and I think everybody knows here, it can be quite painful at times. And this is where the TaDa bot excels. It allows chat-based queries with real-time results on the Symphony platform, giving you the ability to search, communicate, and exchange data instantly. And this is what we're really excited to show you today.
That starts out pretty crazy. But it sounds like the TaDa bot has some great potential to help people's workflows. Before we hear more about the bot, Matthew, can you tell us a little bit about the tech and how it came together to make Euromoney bot together?
Yeah, sure, Joe. Thanks for having us both here at Innovate. ipushpull's actually been at pretty much every Innovate over the years. We're really excited to be on stage at this one here today. So ipushpull is a no-code platform, and we enable real-time data sharing and workflow automation across the financial markets. And from the moment we sat down with Euromoney to understand their vision of the bot and the tasks that it needed to do, it took us only a few weeks to take that idea and that vision from the drawing board to a full production service. So we're really proud to have ipushpull technology powering the TaDa bot.
A few weeks is really impressive, Matthew. Wendy, can you tell us about what problems you think the TaDa bot will solve?
Sure. The problem is simple. Let's say Alice in the customer relationship team takes a call from a client about a trade exception. She doesn't have access to the data or applications to hand, so she needs to speak to Bob in the settlements team. Sounds simple, right? So Alice calls Bob, but Bob's away from his desk. He's doing other things. She emails, but this is going into a shared inbox, so she's not sure when her query is going to be answered. And it's not uncommon for an ops department to receive 5 million emails like this every month. I sure as hell wouldn't like an inbox like that, let's face it. But because Alice doesn't have access to the same data and applications that Bob does, she just has to sit there and wait, and nudge, and call, and send a, as per my previous email. I think we've all sent a couple of those in our time. And this may go on for the next 6 hours, chasing a simple data request. It's this lack of availability and immediacy of data that the TaDa bot delivers, allowing Alice to fetch the data herself instantly. This improves the agility of organizations through real-time data access and reduced reliance on human communication. Importantly, it will also help Ops Department achieve their T+1 settlement goals that has been set by regulators and will need to be achieved by the early part of 2024.
2024? That's not
Yeah.
that far off. Seems like your organizations definitely need to start looking at their processes now. TaDa really sounds like it has the ability to help and make a lot of people's lives easier. So how does it all piece together, Matthew?
Well, the ipushpull technology behind the bot is very exciting. So we're providing a no-code integration into a very large database. And that means that new data sets, new bot commands can be rolled out in minutes and hours rather than weeks and months. And that also includes granular access controls, audit, reporting, and so on. So this meant that the development process, as well as the connectivity to the data, was highly efficient. And that really is the game changer for the accessibility of data. And we're thrilled to be able to enable that. So let's look at a typical query for corporate actions. Let's imagine that Alice has been speaking to her clients and they need some information from Bob. She has a query about an Italian footwear company called TaDa, and then she's having troubles checking for any upcoming corporate actions. So she goes and asks Bob if he knows of any.
This scenario is quite common. Reference data, including corporate actions, is typically delivered via SFTP or API and used to enrich internal applications. Users don't have access to this data directly, so it can sometimes be difficult to search for what they need or to see whether that data is complete or correct.
So I've got Neil Weatherall from ipushpull down here to help me with the demo. His first time in New York. So let's see how TaDa can be used quickly to resolve this corporate action query. So back to Bob. So he decides to use the TaDa bot to search for upcoming corporate actions. So Bob can connect to the bot by searching for it in the Symphony directory and connects to it just like he would with a human user. And can bring up the search form for TaDa by typing menu. And then you can see that will return some preset queries available for corporate actions and holidays, and also allows the ability to search for particular names. So Bob then searches for TaDa, the Italian shoemaker, and finds some corporate actions for next week. And the TaDa bot returns everything that Bob might need, including event types, effective dates, ISINs, Symphony cash tags, and a link to the original notice as well. And in this case, the original notice was in Italian, and TaDa provides an English translation. So users like Bob can have a one-to-one conversation with TaDa, or they can add TaDa into a group chat. So now that Bob has retrieved the information he needs, he can go back to Alice, but before he does, he wants to check another piece of data just in case. So he thinks the effective date of the 25th of October actually might be a holiday. So he goes back into TaDa, asking for any holidays at that particular exchange, which is IDEM, the Italian Derivatives Exchange, and it returns there's no holidays. So all looks good. So he goes back to Alice with the data confident in his answer that and pleased that he could help out so quickly. So now Alice wants to use TaDa for herself. So she can go into the Symphony directory and add TaDa, but now let's assume, like we've got on the screen, that we're playing the role of Alice. So Alice now wants to check for some new contract issues coming out in the next week because her teams have asked her to do so. So she hasn't used TaDa before, so she types help and it returns a help menu. She goes through the different commands that are available and she can see the one she needs. So it's NC next 7, so new contracts next 7 days. And TaDa then returns the results. And the team have actually asked her for this in Excel as well. So again, she goes back to TaDa and TaDa can provide the results inside Excel. And you see that Excel spreadsheet there. So later on, Alice then noticed she's actually got different details for TaDa, that Italian shoemaker, for her post-trade confirmations. She wants to check a FIGI, and if you're not familiar with that, that's a financial instrument global identifier. So there's a number of searches that she can do. So she looks at the help menu again to check what she can search for. And in this case, it's the series FIGI data set. So she uses the command foot FIGI. And you'll notice here that Alice is using the bot command, but she could also be using the menu or the elements form like Bob was using before. So she types in the command foot FIGI, followed by the contract TaDa in this case. TaDa has then returned all of the relevant data and she now wants to narrow it down to get the results she wants. So she searches again and adding the maturity of the contracts, making the results even easier to read. So now she's resolved her problem. She's not had to speak to anyone else. It's purely self-service. She's not having to wait around for another department to help her.
This is really impressive. Is all of what we've seen available today?
Absolutely, Joe. Just search for TaDa in the Symphony directory, connect, and start using free for a month.
And then coming soon, we've got watch lists for individual securities and customized notifications. So imagine again, Alice and Bob are compiling a watch list of stocks that they want to monitor. They can pass these into TaDa to create a watch list. So this then allows them to do two things. They can ask TaDa at any time for an update on those names in the same query language. And they can simply ask TaDa for watch list names, and it will return the results. And soon they'll be able to receive customized notifications. So any new data, like a new corporate action or an event, matches their watch lists, then Symphony and TaDa will send a message directly into the chat room with all of the full details. So they can be used with clients, or you can even give TaDa directly to a client.
I'm sure users will definitely appreciate those features. So how did this all get started?
We wanted to enable clients to use our best-in-class derivative reference data in new, more agile ways. We chose Symphony because of the technology that powers the communication platform for the largest network of financial institutions globally. Our ETD technical team and Symphony worked really closely together with customers to get user feedback, which was then rapidly incorporated by ipushpull. This collaboration allowed us to create practical, usable workflows that our customers would be able to rely on in a fully functional and well-tested bot.
This is definitely a game changer for accessibility of data. For those in the audience or watching live that use reference data, hasn't this looked fascinating? The efficiency gains alone are reducing time spending chasing data queries will be huge. Wendy, what's the feedback been so far from the clients that you're engaged with?
So many of the clients who have concluded their proof of concept will be going on to take the TaDa bot for their own internal use. And they've seen huge reduction in the amount of time spent on data retrieval. This will also help them to achieve their T+1 settlement goals by 2024. We've also had requests from our users to be able to white label that for their own clients so that they can actually go out there and find their own answers to their own queries as an added bonus for utilising that organisation. And we've also had feedback during the proof of concept for more data to be added. We will be adding the full universe that we have, our full catalogue, as well as cash securities and fixed income to our corporate actions data. We will continue to evolve this bot in close collaboration with our clients to make sure this is something that's usable and something that's practical.
That's great to see real live feedback actually having an impact.
Yeah.
So Matthew, what's next for tech?
Well, TaDa is a novel way to access reference data. So it's utilizing bots for real-time chat-based queries, which will improve the efficiency by orders of magnitude. So we've got a full product roadmap with TaDa with future releases, including the customized notifications and watch lists like we were just talking about, dynamic buttons and forms, and to minimize context switching, we've integrated TaDa with Symphony's ECP embedded chat directly into Excel. And we're working very closely with Symphony to further improve customer experience.
Thanks, Matthew. Wendy, any final comments from ETD?
Yep, ETD are so proud to have worked in such close collaboration with Symphony and ipushpull to create a chatbot that really brings our global derivative reference data to life. We would love to see what TaDa can do for you. Search for TaDa in the Symphony directory, connect, and start using a free trial version for a month. We would love to hear your feedback. And thank you so much for having us here today. It's been brilliant. Thank you.
Give a round of applause. Thank you, Matthew and Wendy.